From fiends to creepy scenes of eeriness and gore. Unearthly moans from rattling bones behind each creaking door. It's more than boo that'll frighten you. I long to hear your cries. You won't survive the tale that I've so ghoulishly devised. Dark and haunted, these undaunted tales from the Crypt.
Good evening, boils and ghouls. It's once again time for part 2 of our 4-part bonus episode. I'm going through my top 40 Tales from the Crypt episodes. Last week, I discovered that while I was recording it, that it wasn't just going to be a 2-part, there's going to have to be 4 parts in order to fit everything in. Hope you guys are enjoying this bonus episode so far. Well, the first one. You just started this one, so can't be enjoying it already. Especially with my technical difficulty. There goes the microphone. But anyway, we have got, like I said, my top 40 Tales from the Crypt episodes. This week we're going from number 30 pick and go to 21. And the way I'm going to do this is you'll see the intro to the episode. I'll discuss the episode a little bit, and then the Crypt Keeper will do the outro, and then we'll go from there. That's why I had to split it up some, because it was so much in just going to be in one video. Even with splitting it into 2, I couldn't imagine doing all 40 in one video. It would have been nuts. But this week we're going to start off with number 30, but it was actually the 29th episode of Tales from the Crypt, and we'll get to that intro now.
Good evening, culture vultures, and welcome to another installment of Mashed to Pieces Theater. Tonight we ask the question, to be or not to be? Or in this case, an actor stuck with an average face, who's so sick and tired of auditioning, he's willing to do almost anything. Did I say almost? I call this sickening saga Top Billing.
That's right, episode number 29 in the 3rd season, but my number 30 on the list is called Top Billing. Let's see here. Directed by Todd Holland. I don't know if he's any relation to Tom Holland. It was originally a story in The Vault of Horror, which of course was hosted by the Vault Keeper. You see my Crypt Keeper archive book in the background. Vault Keeper's right there if you can even see it. But anyway, it was the second story in it. The first story was always the main story, one that got the cover. Doesn't mean the other stories weren't good. And another thing with Tales from the Crypt is they didn't just come from the Tales from the Crypt comic. They came from other EC horror comics like The Haunt of Fear, The Vault of Horror, shock suspense stories, crime suspense stories. There's even a weird science and weird fantasy. And yes, that existed before the show in the movie Weird Science. But anyway, Top Billing stars John Lovitz, funny comedic actor, super serious, but in a way that's hilarious. He plays the same role in this. He might as well just be playing himself. But it's about I'll read you the description from. By the way, I'm reading from this. This is Tales from the Crypt, the official archives. It goes from comic book to TV show to movies. Got the whole thing covered in it. Written by Digby Deal. Check this out. This is one of my favorite books I've ever owned. But that's where I'm getting the description from, and a little bit on Wikipedia just to look up the information. But yeah, like I said, stars John Lovitz. Lovitz stars as a struggling actor who would kill to get a part. Literally. His girl has just left him. He's been thrown out of his apartment, and his landlord has taken most of his belongings as collateral for back rent. When a longtime rival, I'm really hillbilly today. A longtime rival I should just quit the podcast business now. I can't talk. Anyway, a long-time rival, I give up, with The Look, lands a lead in a local company's production of Hamlet. He decides to strangle him to death to take the part. He's horrified to learn, however, that the theater troupe was actually a mental hospital full of dead staff members and escaped nuts. Yeah, so basically what the story is, if I can speak since I couldn't get through that, is John Lovitz plays this like serious actor, and like everything's falling apart because he doesn't have what's called the look, you know what I mean? Because you know what John Lovitz looks like. He doesn't look like one of those big name Hollywood actors, even though he is. You know, he doesn't look like the Brad Pitts or, you know, whoever's the... You see how old I am. The latest popular Hollywood star. But, anyway, his friend, well, not really his friend, they went to college together with his girlfriend. They were all in college together, but he has what they call the look, and he always gets, like, these big parts and stuff. Meanwhile, he can't keep a job. John Lovitz's character, so... He decides to do Hamlet, and the other guy, just to prove a point to him, who doesn't even know Hamlet, shows up, and the director looks at him and says, you got the part, you got the look. And of course John Lovitz goes nuts, ends up murdering him. But as you heard, the twist is it's actually not even really a theater troupe. It's just a bunch of crazy people in the mental hospital that killed all the staff members, and now they're just putting on a play. Well, the other twist is the look that they were looking for wasn't the main character he thought it was. It wasn't Hamlet. It was, I can't remember the one, is it Uric? The skull? That was actually what they were casting for. They cast the guy and they're gonna cut his head off and skin him so he can be the skull. Well, since John Lovitz killed the guy and the theater thought he went home or something, they're like, well, okay, you can have the part. And he discovers it's a mental home once he discovers the part he has to play, and they kill him at the end. It's a really funny scene where like his skin is like out in the garbage, and a dog like drags it out, and the director is like, I was wrong, he does have the look. It's a hilarious one, but of course it's, you know, Tales from the Crypt special, there's always a twist there. You know, yeah, you felt bad for the guy because he was a struggling actor and everything, but he still killed somebody, so in the end he got what was coming to him. Killed in an even more horrifying manner. But we're going to get to the outro for that, and then we will get into the next one.
Bravo! Encore! Well, Barry asked for the part, and he got it. But typical Barry, they still couldn't use his face. It's just as well. The critics would have cut him to pieces. I'm calling my agent. I waited all my death to play the part of Yorick. So until next time, kiddies. Hello? I'd like to speak with my agent. What do you mean he's in a beating?
Doc, it's just like that nightmare I told you about. The one I keep having when I'm petting Bambi. You gotta help me, Doc. I'm losing my mind. I can't seem to take a joke anymore. I'm in a choke. I mean, it's like the man in tonight's tale. He's a head shrinker who's about to undergo a little final analysis of his own in a paranoid parable I call The New Arrival.
Coming in at number 29 on my list is from the 4th season. It's the 7th episode of the season, 45th overall, and it's called The New Arrival. I probably should have found the page here. But yeah, The New Arrival is one I definitely remember watching a lot. A lot of these I watched on syndication on Fox, so obviously it was on HBO originally. I didn't get to see a lot of the original HBO run of these because we didn't have HBO, but going back and watching them on DVD, which has obviously the HBO uncensored versions, these are really good stories. But The New Arrival, directed by Peter Medak, or Medak, whoever you say that. It starred David Warner as the psychologist, And Zelda Rubinstein, which everybody remembers as the little woman from Poltergeist. She played the mom of this girl, if you want to call her that girl. It was originally in The Haunt of Fear. It was the main story for the issue, number 25. Self-important radio psychologist Alan Getz, played by David Warner, wants to prove to his boss and the world that he really is the best. He accepts the challenge of paying a house call upon an oddball mother, Zelda Rubinstein, and her particularly problematic daughter, Felicity. One by one, the members of his team and finally his boss are offed in horrifying ways. But he continues undaunted until he discovers he's met his match, as little Felicity turns out to be a little zombie with a penchant for murder. And that's pretty much exactly the thing. Her daughter, if you want to call her that, her zombie, wouldn't listen to her, so she calls a radio psychologist, and she said, I've tried all of them, and the guy don't believe it, and he goes there and try to help, and at the end he finds like the corpses of like all these famous psychiatrists that she'd killed in the past, or the daughter killed one of them. They don't make it, I don't know if they make it real clear who actually doing the killing. I think it's the daughter. But just a really creepy episode, and the woman from Poltergeist really makes this even more creepy. Like anything she is, just her voice is creepy enough. But yeah, really good episode, and like I said, just like really creepy. We're gonna get to the intro for the next one.
You'll be happy to know that Dr. Getz did get another radio show, though he was much more careful this time about screaming his calls. I'm feeling so much better. You were right, Doc. A little smotherly love was all I needed. So till next time, kiddies, I'm sending my shrink to join the others. You know what they say, the more the merrier. Thanks, pal, for nothing. I tell you, kiddies, things are tough all over. What with my expenses going up, and suddenly finding out I owe the IRS a fortune, your pal the Crypt Keeper's had to find himself a second job. Still, it's worse for the people in tonight's Terror-tale. It concerns a group of inmates at the local home who've got a few horrid choices of their own to make. I call it Revenge is the Nuts.
It is called Revenge is the Nuts. And this one is from season 6, the 70th episode overall, 5th in the season. This was directed by Jonas McCord. And one of the stars of it is, one of the blind people in this is Isaac Hayes. Of course, from famous actor from the 70s, but of course most people, especially my age, know him as Chef from South Park. Sorry about my throat. But this is, if you've seen the 1972 movie, which I talk about all the time, Tales from the Crypt, you know, the British one, this is a take on that story. The one about the people in the blind, the home for the blind, where this guy moves in and takes over and is just like awful to them, and they're basically starving to death, and the one guy dies because they don't have enough blankets, but he's got a blanket for his dog. Meanwhile, this guy's freezing and literally dies. Anyway, they make a plan at the end to they trap the guy. They get his dog first. They trap him in a room by like laying out bacon, like little slivers of bacon, and the dog follows them. And they're blind, but they build this like maze, and they trap the guy that runs it, and they keep his dog. They keep him in there for several days, and they keep his dog in there, and his dog is like one of them ones that'll just like looks like it'll kill you. So they starve him, Well, they start both of them actually. Then they let him out and the dog out. So then he has the choice. He has to run. And down this hallway, he doesn't know, but they've got these series of razor blades set up. And they turn the light out, so he knows what it's like to be blind finally, and he gets all cut up, and the dog eats him, and you don't actually see it on the screen. But that is actually this story. Again, this is from the Vault of Horror. Issue number 20 was actually the last episode, or the last issue in it, or story. Got a lot of things in my head. But the description for this is, again, that's from the movie. The show version's a little bit different, but not too much. Patients at a rundown home for the blind suffer under the cruel torture of its owner. Pretty Sheila is a new inmate who becomes an unwilling pawn when the owner says he'll lighten up on the others if she agrees to sleep with him. And that wasn't a part of the original, the story from the movie. As far as, I don't know, like, I haven't read the actual story from the comics. I don't know which one's more true. Probably the one for the movie, because the one for the shows they did take a lot of liberties with. But also a veritable prisoner in the home is Benny, a kindly simpleton who saves Sheila and helps the rest of the blind victims to lock up the heartless owner. And again, that, like I said, and that didn't even happen in the movie version. But the description they give on Wikipedia gives a little more. That's kind of vague there, but this Arnie Grunwald is a sadistic and psychopathic head caretaker at a home for the blind. He routinely goes out of his way to abuse the home's patients by lining the walls with razor blades, walling off the bathroom, spilling marbles on the floor, and unleashing his guard dog Bruno on them. Which, of course, in the movie they all do that to him, but he doesn't actually do that. I mean, he's mean, but the guy in the TV show version's like that guy on crack. Crackhead Dave. I had to. But yeah, they give him pretty much his comeuppance. And the episode's plot is adapted from Blind Alleys, which was told in Tales from the Crypt number 45, using the title of the Vault of Horror story listed above. So, actually, what they did there, reading that description, is they took the story from the story called Blind Alleys, and they gave it a name of another story from there, Revenge is the Nuts. They kind of combined two stories into one there. But like I said, I think the better version's in the movie, but this one's actually a really good one. It's like, gets a lot more graphic than the movie version. Of course, it's a British movie from the 70s, so they're obviously not gonna, and if you've seen the blood effects in that, it's comical, but still one of my all-time favorite movies ever. But we're gonna get to the outro, and then we're gonna get into our next one.
That Grunwald. One little problem and he goes right to pieces. At least now we know what's really eating him. As for me, kiddies, I think I've got my money problems licked. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. Talk about a killing. Everybody loves finger food. Hey, you want a side of ghoul slaw with that? I call this one Painted into a Coroner Blues. When I think of you, my heart goes flopsy as I contemplate your sweet autopsy. Your skin is green and blue, whatever would I do without my fine cadaver? The love in which I know I'll fall starts with the unkindest cut of all. Thank you, thank you. They don't call me the creative writing corpse for nothing. Thank you. My next poem is a little experimental number I've been working on. I hope you like it. It's about a real ghoul dude named Clyde, who's about to try a little daiku of his own in a vile verse I call Scared in Horror.
Number 27 is actually from the same season as the last one, season 6, a few episodes after it. It is 74th overall. It's called Stared in Horror. And speaking of horror, it's from the Vault of Horror. issue number 23, the last story. And it's a really creepy one I had seen and like really had effect on me and my brothers. A criminal on the lam seeks refuge in the home of a wrinkled old woman. This is the description, a wrinkled old woman. He soon discovers the house has a curse on it after the woman comes downstairs in the night as a gorgeous young beauty who quickly turns ancient and pruned again. She explains that long ago her husband found her cheating on him and put a curse on both her and the house. She will never come down the stairs a young woman again, and any man that tries to go up the stairs to her bedroom will find himself aging before his very eyes. When the police show up, she tells him to go upstairs, and EC Justice takes over. And what they mean by that is EC is the comic. You can see the little logo there. EC Comics stood for Entertaining Comics. Originally educational comics, but you're not here for the Tales from the Crypt comic episode history. But you can find stuff about that on. There's a documentary on the very first season of Tales from the Crypt. I think it's from comics to television or something. It's the first season or second season. Anyway, what they mean by that is obviously the Tales from the Crypt twist ending. Like I said, this guy is like an evil guy. He killed somebody, and he shows up trying to. At first, he wanted to see if this woman had a car and steal it, but then realized he didn't. So he's like keeping her hostage so he can stay there until the police are gone. And he ends up like finding out, like I said, about her secret, and she told the story about the curse. Well, what they decided to do is that they ended up meeting like in the middle of the stairs where they were both like the same age, and of course they got it on because it's Tales from the Crypt. But like I said, the guy was a horrible guy, so justice ended up prevailing at the end. Like I said, when the guy goes upstairs, he gets too old. Well, when she goes up there, she like gets even younger. So let's see. Yeah, the sheriff showed up, and then Clyde's wanted for the killing of a shopkeeper, so he's got to hide. So then sheriff insists on coming in to look. So he's like, well, they're not looking for an old man, so tells him to go upstairs, and he like becomes like ancient. Let's see. Trying to look. Yeah, that's what happens. Like he becomes like ancient's like dying, and she goes up there to try to help him. Like he goes like farther than like even she went, like into the attic. So he's like literally rotting away, and she goes to try to help him. Well, the more she goes up, the younger she gets. So she ends up like a baby crawling around. She's stuck there. She can't get out, and obviously she can't pull the old guy down. So they both kind of get what they deserve at the end. Sorry for the confusion there. I was trying to remember, like, how did that happen? Because I knew that she turned into a baby, and he turned into like a rotting guy. I was trying to remember how it happened. It's Tales from the Crypt. Rotting guys and babies, they go together. Let's get to the outro and the intro for our next episode.
Poor Clyde. I guess that's one 12-step program he could have done without. Still, you'll be happy to know, kiddies, that our story has a happy ending. Clyde did manage, after a couple of years, to crawl a little way down the stairs, where he waited for Lily while she grew some. You know what they say? Age before booty. My next poem features a rhyming scream I think you'll find interesting.
Hey, why don't you sit down?
Excuse me, folks. Now that's beat poetry.
Damn you, Marcel! I told you they wanted violence, not violins. Good health is so hard to fiend, isn't it, kiddies? Want a little more champagne? I hope you're hungry for tonight's murderous menu. It concerns a man who's discovered that the fastest way to a woman's heart is with a pickaxe. I call this tasty little hors d'oeuvre None but the lonely heart.
Episode number... Let me make sure I got the number right. Episode number 26 is called None But the Lonely Heart. It was the very first episode of Season 4. It was originally in Tales from the Crypt number 33 and was directed by Tom Hanks. Yes, that Tom Hanks, who has a small cameo in this. But like Tales from the Crypt was known for having like well-known actors and directors like be in it because it was a chance to do something small. But like in Tom Hanks' case, you know, he was acting in movies. He didn't get to direct things, so this was a chance for him to, you know, direct something and, you know, have a small part in it. And, you know, like they had big name actors for a while doing this. But so this, it starred Treat Williams as the evil gold digger, pretty much. And like I said, Tom Hanks had a small role. Even stars Sugar Ray Leonard, the boxer, as a caretaker at the cemetery. It says, a sleazy man, Treat Williams, makes a killing by marrying wealthy old ladies and bumping them off. His business partner fears he'll get caught if he doesn't quit while he's ahead. But the heartless heartthrob wants to try for one more rich widow. After receiving a series of threatening notes, he knocks off those he suspects, including the partner, Tom Hanks, who manages the dating service he uses to select the victims. So that was Tom Hanks' part in it. And the house butler of the woman he just killed. At last, he poisons the widow. Well, he hadn't killed her yet, I guess. Before he can flee, he's summoned to the cemetery where he meets a gravedigger, which is, like I said, Sugar Ray Leonard, who says he's acting on behalf of the vengeful spirits of all the women he's done in over the years. And the greedy young man finds out just how vengeful they are up close and personal. This is one of those classic, all these dead women come back from the dead after him in like this mausoleum, and they're like, the corpses are oozing and crawling towards him, and it's just disgusting. It's Tales from the Crypt. That's like the perfect, if you wanted to show someone an episode, like, what is Tales from the Crypt about? The horror, the ending where the guy gets what he deserves, or girl, depending on the episode. Like, it's all, and like this is like the perfect one to show people. Again, it's not my favorite, because, you know, it's lower in the list, but that doesn't mean it's a bad episode. By the way, there's 93 episodes in total, so I'm ranking a top 40, so it's not even half of them. If I realized I was going to break them into episodes, I probably would have just done all of the episodes ranked, but it gets kind of hard to rank all 93. Get to the outro, and then we'll get to the intro of our episode that comes in at number 25.
Now that's what I call a happy ending. I had a feeling Effie would win Howard's heart, not to mention his spleen, his kidneys, and his gallbladder. So, will there be anything else? I love a ghoul who gives you head, and then lets you keep it. There you are, sports fiends. You know, dead people like me make excellent point guards. When we can't get off a shot, we simply pass. Away, that is. Speaking of which, allow me to be your fear leader for tonight's halftime show. It's a putrid playlet about my personal favorite sport, being a mortician. I fittingly call it Fitting Punishment.
Number 25 is Fitting Punishment. It is from the second season, the 18th episode overall. And this was originally in the Vault of Horror, number 16, directed by Jack Shoulder, and stars Moses Gunn. Because when teenager Bobby's parents die, he goes to live with his Scrooge-like Uncle Ezra, which is Moses Gunn, a corner-cutting funeral home director. Ezra's cheapskate ways reach new lows when he winds up with an extra coffin and waste not, want not, decides to fill it with his nephew, murdering him with a crowbar. When the lanky boy proves too tall to fit, he trims off his feet. The boy then returns as a crutch-walking zombie, eager to return the favor. Again, another classic one. Yeah, this guy's a cheapskate. He's mean to his assistant that worked there. He goes around quoting the Bible, but then he's like completely disregards it by his actions. And he said and the reason the coffin was the wrong size because he blamed it on his nephew, but it was really him wrote down the wrong size that he needed. So and he's tired of the boy bouncing the basketball. So anyway, he pushes him down the steps and he gets mad at him, pushing down the steps, and becomes like paralyzed. And then he's like, oh great, now I didn't want to have to deal with this boy anyway. Now I got to take care of him. He can't move, so he just decides to kill him, saying he was clumsy and fell down the steps. But anyway, like I said, he comes back and with a vengeance, and old Mr. Funeral Director gets what he deserves. A great episode again. Just creepy music in it, creepy lighting. That's one thing about these is because they're directed by a bunch of different people and they're all their own stories. It's like you're getting like a little mini movie in each one, and no two are ever like the same. Like one of them that's coming up later on it's about a cat. I can't remember where it's at on my list, but it's about a cat, and it's like during like the early 1900s and like carnival times. So like all the shots for the camera are like just like weird and out of focus, and makes you think you're at a carnival. It's just all kinds of different stuff they used on here, because like I said, each episode was its own thing. It's not like a TV series where you got to follow the formula and it's all got to look the same. This is just like little tiny 20-30 minute movies. But anyway, enough of my little tidbits of facts there. We're gonna move on to number 24, and I promise I didn't even remember, but number 24 is the one I was just talking about with the cat. Let's get to it.
Well, looks like old Ezra learned raising a teen is no walk in the graveyard. Now he's going to need one of his cheap coffins for himself. That's what he gets for having a name like Ezra. As for poor Bobby, he got a pretty nasty case of athlete's foot, didn't he? I mean, I've heard of footloose, but yikes! Oh well, I guess the next best thing to making a goal is becoming a ghoul. Right, kiddies? Good evening, film fans. And welcome to my Crawley Crypt. This little drama is about one of life's unexpected pleasures. Dying, that is. Most of us only get to do it once, and it's all over before you can really enjoy it. But one man did get to die again, and he liked it so much, he started doing it for a living. This is the story of Ulrich the Undying, a sideshow performer who found death not only fun, but profitable. In fact, he is dying to put on a show for you.
I did not plan that transition there. I just kind of lucked into it. But let me go back, find what number that was. Number 24 on my list is actually the third episode, and when these were made, the first three were made at once. So it was one of the three original ones. This is called Dig That Cat, He's Real Gone. No, weird name. Directed by Richard Donner, of course, one of the five original directors that signed on and were like directors and producers all throughout. No matter who directed, they were producers. But of course, he's famous for the Superman movies of the 80s. But originally was in The Haunt of Fear, number 21, and starred Joe Pantoliano and Robert Wool. And this is like a really creepy one. Like I said, it was shot to look like it was like carnival and stuff. Ulrich, Joe Pantoliano, if I'm saying that right, is given the chance of a lifetime when a scientist offers to implant a cat's gland inside of him, which will allow him to die and come back to life 9 times. Of course, going on the old 9 lives of a cat thing. Like, if that was real, they would have done figure that out by now. But anyway, in this story, in this case, just the scientist is the only one to think of doing it. The duo turn Ulrich's talent into cash with the help of a carnival barker, Robert Wool. They subject him to all manners of horrific deaths, shooting, hanging, drowning, and 8 times he astonishes audiences by coming back to life. In a last desperate attempt to walk away rich, Ulrich forces the barker to bury him alive. When he is resurrected in his 9th life, he will take all the profits. Unfortunately, it is only after he is 6 feet under that Ulrich realizes he has flunked math. The cat who died to give him his powers with death numero uno. Originally, this episode was going to be called "Dying for Dollars," you know, kind of like based on one of them old game shows, but with a Crypt Keeper spin. And he actually says he says that line in the outro. You'll see. But yeah, classic one. It's like this homeless guy that the scientist found. You know, he had no life, so he's like, "Okay, I'll do this for money," and then realizes that they could actually like profit off him dying and then coming back. You know. Of course, there's only a limited amount of times. I don't know why he didn't see. He should have thought that later on. Was like maybe I can, you know, get more cats implanted. But he don't even get the chance for that because he's greedy and ends up purposely wrecking a car with the scientist, weird doctor, whatever you want to call him. And they hit the wall, and he's like, what are you doing? The doctor, and he's like, well, you're about to die, doctor. And then literally crashes it and kills the guy off, so that way he gets more profits to himself. And at the end, like, he's not even giving the carnival guy. He wants 100% of the profits because it's going to be his last life. But like I said, he miscounted. The cat dying was actually the very first life that was, gone. So he's laying there literally buried alive, and nobody knows that, like, it's not like the other deaths where he's like, like the one he gets shot or one he gets hung in, and, he can... Like, wait a minute, stop, this ain't, he's buried, nobody knows there. And then at the end, as they walk, people are walking away, like, you think he's still down there? Oh, no, it's all tricks, he's probably out by now. As he's laying there realizing he's going to suffocate and die. And then, of course, a cat meows on his grave, and it's fitting that it ends in a buried alive, because he literally is buried alive. But, yeah, just like I said, one of those original 3 Tales from the Crypts, it was third, obviously, of those 3, but on my list it was 24th, and just like I said, a great story. And like I said, I had no idea that one was actually next one. Because I was trying to tell you about the different like camera angles and stuff they would do. This definitely feels like you're like in a carnival or something watching this. It's like so strange, but like it fits the Tales from the Crypt. But anyway, we're gonna see the outro for that, and then get into our next episode, number 23. We're going all the way to the end for this one.
Nice kitty. Get! Hope you enjoyed our little bedtime story, kids. Alas, poor Ulrich. Miss a bet. Though Dying for Dollars could have been a popular game show, they could have put it in between Wheel of Misfortune and the newly dead game. Unless they buried it in the wrong time slot. Son of Dracula. Return of the Son of Dracula. The Son of Dracula's Revenge? Is that all you can do? Vampire movies? I'm afraid that's not good enough. You'd have to be a bite more versatile to be on the fighting staff of Tales from the Crypt. Oh, hello, creeps. As you can see, we've got an opening for a story editor. I've been conducting chop interviews all morning. No one seems to get what I'm looking for. Oh well, let's see who's next.
Interesting. A brother team. Grim. I think I've heard of them. This has potential, boils and ghouls. It's a twisted bit of gory telling about 3 characters you may recognize at first. It's called The Third Pig.
Right, number 23 is called The Third Pig. It is the very last episode of the series, season 7, episode 93, 13 of the series. And of course the 7th, this might be my, I can't remember, this might be my only entry on here from the 7th season. It's widely regarded as probably one of the worst. Most of the episodes are shot in England, with English actors, and you could tell when stuff was shot in England, especially back then. Like the cameras, like you could just instantly tell something is being filmed in England, and just the writing wasn't as good on it. And it's like they did it to save money, and it's just like it just didn't work as well. I mean, some of the episodes are okay; they're not terrible, but quality went down. But this last one is completely different for another reason. First of all, it's an animated episode. It was the only animated episode in the Tales from the Crypt series, and if you remember seeing a Crypt Keeper cartoon, it wasn't this. That was Tales from the Crypt Keeper, which had 3 seasons, and the people that animated it actually animated this, although in a different style, because that one was made for kids. This one was made from the Tales from the Crypt world, so it was nuts. Like I said, and The Third Pig, it's based loosely on the story of the 3 little pigs. And it was our last. I should have put at the beginning of this that the agreement for William Gaines, who was the guy who owned the EC Comics. Tales from the Crypt was his baby basically. The only way he agreed to let them do this is if they only adapted stories from the EC Comics. Well, this is their last episode, so I guess they're like, screw that. This is the only one that wasn't one. Again, it's like based on the 3 little pigs. But Bobcat Goldthwait, I can't ever say that name right. He was one of the voices. And it says, in this cartoon reworking of the tale of the 3 little pigs, the 2 slobby, ignorant pigs are eaten, and the smart 3rd pig, Dudley, is charged with their murders because the courts are populated solely by wolves, okay? But the ghosts of his deceased brethren come to him and tell him to build a zombie Frankenpig to avenge their deaths, and he does. The monster devours the wolf, but Dudley discovers he has a few other swinish problems. This is just like, it's nuts. They go all out on this episode. Like I said, it's animated so they can do what they want, and just like, it's crazy, is it better than some episodes? No, but it's just the craziness of it. I have it on my list. Definitely, if you haven't checked that out, watch that. It's nuts. We're going to get to the outro, and then we will be back for episode number 22. We're getting towards the end this week.
I don't know about you, kiddies, but I was glad to see the wolf hit one out of the pork. Still, an hour from now, he'll be hungry again and bacon for more. You'll be happy to know, creeps, that it looks like that opening I told you about has been filled. Once we hammer out a few creative differences, that is.
From overseas and underworld, it's the Crypt Keeper News Network. Good evening, creeps.
In the news tonight, Wolfman bites dog. Vampires say life sucks. Mummy takes the rap after years in denial. And illiterate zombies insist they're better dead than red. This just in. And our top story tonight is a nasty little soundbite about an ambulance-chasing lawyer who's about to bleed the toughest case of her life. I call it, let the punishment fit the crime.
Episode number 22 on my list is actually the first episode of season 6, the 66th episode, called Let the Punishment Fit the Crime. It is directed by Russell Mulcahy and it's from The Vault of Horror number 33, starring Catherine O'Hara, which of course, probably the most famous thing she's done is Kevin's mom in Home Alone and Home Alone 2. That's where, if you like I know that name, that's where you know her from. And also starred Peter McNichol. And I remember seeing this one, this episode creeped me out. It's not even, even before it got to the actual monsters that were in it, just creeped me out. The synopsis for it is, an ambulance-chasing lawyer, Catherine O'Hara, gets her comeuppance when she becomes trapped in the small claims court hell. She's hauled in for having too many digits on her license plate, and discovers that not only is she dealing with a kangaroo court, but a town with a history of swift, strict, and brutal punishment. She's repeatedly run through the system and finds the true meaning of hard justice when she finally delivered her sentence. Public service. Now, you think, well, big deal there. She doesn't realize her lawyer, Peter McNichol, has just been relieved from being stuck in this lawyer's version of hell, and treats himself to the electric chair, while she must stay behind to take his place. So that shows you how bad that job is, that he's glad when someone else can take his place and he can jump to the electric chair. I mean, this episode was crazy. The judge, there was 3 judges, and one was supposed to be worse than the rest, and it turned out to be the same guy in each one. Well, he technically is 3 different guys, but it's obviously the same guy. But, like I said, the reason, and her lawyer, the public defender, wanted her to be sentenced to public service because he knew it would free him from being stuck there. And like I said, he was glad to jump in the electric chair. And there was dead bodies coming back to life of people that because she was like I said, an ambulance chasing lawyer. She those frivolous lawsuit type cases where people's lives are ruined just so someone can make some money off of them. There was one guy that his heart malfunctioned because of a company that didn't test the heart, and I can't remember exactly how she was, but she was involved in that. But anyway, these monsters come back from the dead, and he jumps in an electric chair, and then at the very end she realizes she's got to take his place, and it all starts over again. And you can just tell she'll look for her opportunity to get out of there just the same way the other guy did. Like I said, that episode really creeped me out. I remember watching that one on HBO, probably at my granny's house or something. That one creeped me out. But we're going to get to the outro, and then number 21 to end the week is actually has a lot to do with the Crypt Keeper. Let's get to it.
Talk about trial and terror. Still, I think Jerry will do just fine. I mean, aside from the occasional attack of motion sickness. And now it's time for business news. So, Chip, what happened on the shock exchanges today? Oh, sorry. Looks like it's time for the Spurts report instead. Oh, boy. Shh. Ah, there. Isn't he just so cute that you wanna... Whoops. Crypt Keeper here, kiddies. And speaking of kiddies, tonight's sickening saga should be subtitled A Tale from the Crib. Yes, dear fans, I've got a real nursery crime for you this time. It's all about the humble beginnings of my favorite horror hero. So call the babysitter and break out the bath bags as I narrate a nauseating novella with a very special place in my heart. I affectionately call this one Lower Berth.
Alright, and our last entry for this week, and we'll be halfway through the list, at number 21 is the actual 20th episode of the series, and from season 2, it's called Lower Berth. This is a very good episode, directed by Kevin Yeager, who, by the way, is the not the voice of the Crypt Keeper, that's John Kassir, but Kevin Yeager is the one who created the Crypt Keeper puppet, also created Chucky, by the way. And by the way, if you've seen that thing online saying, oh, they use Chucky's eyes for Crypt Keeper or Crypt Keeper's eyes for Chucky, it's not the same eyes. It's made by the same, the same guy that made the puppets, so it's not like the same eyes were in both. And I just seen that a lot on Facebook, a lot. I said a lot. Anyway, Louis Arquette is one of the stars of this, and Jeff Yeager, which is Kevin Yeager's brother, plays the Two-Face guy. Yes, we're going back to the carnivals. But the corroded tapestry that is the Crypt Keeper's family history unfolds in this tale of Enoch, the Two-Faced Man. Like I said, played by Jeff Yeager. A carnival freak show attraction who has eyes for the 4,000-year-old mummy his keeper has just received in a bargain from a mysterious stranger. When the carny barker discovers the mummy is not only stolen but cursed, he wants to be rid of it. That is, until he notices the sparkling jewels around the mummy's neck. However, the curse states that anyone who tries to lift the ancient family jewels will lose his own, so to speak. The greedy barker decides to swipe them anyway and discovers the sheer magnitude of the curse. By sheer, he gets shears jabbed and his thing cut off. This leaves Enoch free to run away with the ghoul of his dreams and sire a bastard creation, the host of the most, the Crypt Keeper. But yeah, it's the story as you'll see in the outro. The mummy was my mommy, or Two-Face was my daddy, and the mummy was my mommy. But yeah, that one is basically the origin story of the Crypt Keeper. That was based on Tales from the Crypt issue, obviously. But it was like a really good episode. Like I said, they somehow, like the mummy was alive and the Two-Face guy, they run off. And the reason how they discover the Crypt Keeper is like a year later they come back to town, like the carnival, because you know carnivals travel around a lot, and they end up finding the like somehow someone in a cave found the mummy and the Two-Face guy, and you know it's like, hey, you were here last year when you reported your exhibits missing. They take him in there, and the guy Louis Arquette plays the main carnival guy, not the one that got his family jewels cut off, obviously. But anyway, he's like holding his nose because they stink because they're both dead. And as they walk out, they pan down and the little Crypt Keeper in like this little basket, and he was like born. It was like a little baby Crypt Keeper with missing a nose, so he was born a monster. But just a perfect one to end this week on, because that's like one of the best episodes. I know it's only 21, which it's like that shows how many good episodes they have, that there's still 20 episodes that are better than that one. But yeah, that's pretty much the Crypt Keeper's origin story. Of course, he couldn't just be a rotting corpse. He was born a rotting corpse. Born from a Two-Face and a mummy. But anyway, that's Tales from the Crypt. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Be looking for episode number 3 next Friday night, or day, whenever it comes out. I don't know. It's been a long day here, but I've got a lot of recording done today, so that's a good thing. Anyway, you don't care about that. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I encourage you to find these episodes and watch them. My descriptions obviously don't do them justice. Just watch them. We'll see you next time. See you.
Oh, sorry, kiddies, but that story just makes me go all to pieces. I was a cute little terror tyke, though, wasn't I? As for Enoch and Myrna, I guess you figured out by now where I get my good looks. Old Two-Face was my daddy, and the mummy was my mommy. Oh, if they'd only lived long enough to see me become a star. We never even got a chance to play hide and go shriek together. And now, I predict the future. Next week, you'll be in the same time, same place, same station, for another hideous, hateful haul of horror.